Hello guys, I welcome you all to this new video on cybersecurity terms. So we are discussing basics of cybersecurity. So I came up with a video where we will see 100 terms. So the terminology, basic terms, 100 cybersecurity terms. So previously I recorded a video on networking, which has got 1,000 views in just few days. So that was interesting. And now I was planning to come up with another video on cybersecurity fundamentals. But before that, I thought of, trying to discuss some terms. So I come up with 100 cybersecurity terms, and then I'll see, if I can record a video on cybersecurity basics and then also cloud basics. But this video is going to be more interesting because here we will discuss 100 cybersecurity terms. So without wasting any time further, I am going to share my screen. So before that, I am going to start my presentation here. And now I'll share my screen. So we will see 100 cybersecurity terms. So on my screen here, I have 100 cybersecurity terms which we are going to discuss. My name is Sheikh Rashid Javed. I am certified EC Council instructor. I am Microsoft certified trainer. I am cybercrime intervention officer. It has been last 5 years, more than 5 years that I work as a corporate trainer in cybersecurity. Before that, I was working with HCL troubleshooting networks. I was working with a university as an assistant professor. I did some freelancing. So almost 12 plus, I have been in this cybersecurity. So I would say my area of interest is network security and cloud. So let's see 100 cybersecurity terms. So these are the terms we are going to see here. What's exploit, what's breach, firewall, malware, ransomware, Trojan horse, worm, botnet, spyware, rootkit, DDoS, phishing, encryption, pen testing, social engineering, clickjacking, deepfake, what's APT, cyberattack, digital certificate, digital forensics, DLP, DMZ, authentication, authorization, bug, ciphertext, cryptography, data integrity, eavesdropping, hacker, hacktivism, honeypot, identity fraud, IDS, insider threat, IPS, keylogger, packet sniffing, what's patch management, what's PKI, risk management, security control, security perimeter. Then we'll see what is SIEM, what is spoofing, what is threat, what's virus, Vishing, vulnerability, zombie, APT, attack vector, backdoor, brute force attack, cryptojacking, cyberbullying, what's dark web, what's EDR, Fileless Malware, IOC, MITM, Scareware, what is SOC, what's Sniffing, what is SOAR, zero-day exploit, red team, blue team, Cryptanalysis, digital signature, enterprise risk management, data exfiltration, information assurance, confidentiality, non-repudiation, adware, baiting, cyber warfare, hacking, malvertising, MFA, pretexting, scam, smishing, spam, spear phishing, tailgating, whaling, white hat hackers, black hat hackers, boot sector malware, dumpster diving, what are hoaxes and what's intrusion, logic bomb, what's payload, forming, attack surface, credential harvesting, and shadow IT. So we are going to discuss 100 cybersecurity terms. I'm going to make this video short, so we'll spend at least 1 minute or less than that on each term, just to understand the basics, because when you come across, when you move into cybersecurity, you will come across a lot of these terms. Either you're working as a cybersecurity or in any field related to forensic analysis, you do forensic investigation, you do incident handling, you do threat analysis, you do penetration testing, you're working as an ethical hacker into security, as a defender, you will come across these terms. So let's understand these basic terms. So what is an exploit? We'll say, no, someone has got exploited. So it is a malicious application or a script that can be used to take advantage of a computer's vulnerability. So we'll see what's a vulnerability. Now, what is an exploit? So if someone says, I have created an exploit, so it is a malicious application or it is a script. This script can be used to take the advantage of computer's vulnerability. And now you try to send this script so through some weakness, a system has a weakness, and you will try to create the malicious application or a script and try to send to it someone through the loophole, through the weakness. So exploit is just a malicious application or a script which is created for bad purpose. What is firewall? So firewall, most of the times we'll see, hardware firewall or software. It is a defensive technology which is designed to keep bad guys out with a set of firewall rules. So you will have some set of firewall rules which we call tuples, like you have source IP, destination IP, source MAC, destination MAC, or the protocol from which it's coming. So based on that, you are going to allow or deny. Sorry, not source MAC, source port, destination port, source IP, and destination IP. So mostly these firewalls work at layer 3. You have also layer 7 and other firewalls, but based on these tuples, source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol, it is going to either allow or deny. Malware is anything which is malicious. So it comes from a malicious software is what we call malware, like, a virus, worm, Trojan. So any software which is created for a malicious purpose, which is a bad purpose, is known as malware. So malware is malicious software. Ransomware, you might have heard recently, there's a ransomware attack. So what it is malware that prevents you from accessing file on your computer. It will encrypt files, ask for some ransom to decrypt. Now, malware might encrypt or not, but ransomware might encrypt or not. But when we say ransomware, that means it's going to ask you for ransom. So it prevents you from accessing files on your computer. So your files are getting encrypted, or your files are not usable. You're not able to use them. It might encrypt your files, ask for some ransom to decrypt, like WannaCry, which we saw recently. They will ask you to pay in Bitcoin. After that, they might or may not decrypt this. So you can search online. There's no ransom, or there's Kaspersky. They come up with some software where you try to use and try to decrypt. Most of the times you'll be able to decrypt. So how to prevent that? Take the backup and use some some encrypting software, like you have the software by default in your system, that is BitLocker, right? So BitLocker you can use here to prevent, to make it difficult. Trojan horse misleads user of true intention. It looks something good, but it has a bad intention. The story goes back, when there was a war between Troy and those guys, and then they gifted them the horse. It looked like as a sign-up gift, but there were soldiers who were hidden in that horse. So it looks something good, but it has a bad intention. That's why we call it Trojan horse. So it says like, oh, there's a good software, please use it. And after that, you will find it is a bad thing. So it just misleads users of its true intention. It looks something good, but it has a bad intention. Worm, similar to the virus, we have a worm. So it can replace itself. So it can replace in the sense it can replicate itself. So it will separate infection to other computers. So if you have a worm, mostly it's going to jump your whole network. It's going to consume bandwidth. So if you feel your network is slow, it could be a sign of worm. So whole network gets infected. Botnet is like a zombie which can be controlled by someone, like through the remote control. And botnet is a network of bots. Mostly attackers use it to launch DDoS attacks. So allows attacker to take complete remote control of infected computer. There's a bot master who is going to control that. These are softwares available on internet which we can use botnet. So mostly it is being used to do DDoS attack. Spyware, this is something which is going to spy on you. So you try to install spyware on someone's laptop or mobile phone. So it's going to spy on your action without your knowledge, like activity monitoring, collecting keystrokes. Sometimes if you press keys, it's going to capture passwords or some banking details. Remotely, it's going to send it to the attacker, or you can through the email, or you can just launch some other ways, or send it as an SMS. Rootkit, this is mainly it's going to hide at the root level. If you see you have a software, you have a kernel, so it's going to store at the kernel level. You have different types of rootkits, but the thing is, like if you run an antivirus, it's not going to detect this rootkit because it's hiding at the kernel level. So it's a malicious software that is extremely difficult to spot and therefore very difficult to remove. So you need rootkit revealers to remove the rootkits, because they mostly hide the malicious intent or malicious tools of an attacker. DDoS, we saw that it's a distributed denial of service. So here what we have one attacker, or in DOS, we have one attacker and one target. But here, what happens in the DDoS, there are multiple attackers and attacking the same target. So what you do, you just set up, that botnet. So this is your botnet. These are your bots. These are controlled by bot master. And this is a distributed denial of service with more strength, flooding malicious traffic to a target like website, making it slow or unresponsive. So you have anti-DDoS or other softwares nowadays. Phishing, this is where an attacker is going to send you an email, and when you click on the email, it looks like, oh, it's my bank, let me fill my details. So attacker is going to collect some information from you, used by hackers to obtain sensitive information, using emails to trick people to reveal personal or confidential information such as passwords or bank account information. Encryption, This is the way how you encrypt the data. So you have something like, plain text, you apply a key on this plain text, you will get a ciphertext, and you will send this ciphertext to other guy. He will apply the same key and he will get the plain text. So someone, this is your ciphertext. So this is your encryption, encoding data to prevent theft of this data. So this data can be only accessed by an authorized user. So that person who has a key, he will be able to access this. If someone else gets access to this, he'll not be able to, decrypt. So there are two types of encryption: symmetric and asymmetric. Symmetric, we use same key. Asymmetric, we use different keys, public and private. Pen testing. This is checking the security using hacking tools and techniques, discovering vulnerabilities, loopholes, or security flaws. So you call a team like a blue team, which is going to come your organization, and they will do pen testing. There's a contract they need to sign in, and then they will start doing the penetration testing. They'll be using same techniques and tools which hackers are using or ethical hackers are using to find the vulnerabilities, so you can close them to prevent any further attack. Social engineering is where you try to manipulate human behavior. You make friendship with humans, and then you try to exploit the relationship. So they will reveal some sensitive information. Manipulate, and you can just deceive people to gain some sensitive information about the organization. These people are not happy. They might be, being terminated. They are on notice period. They're disgruntled, not happy with the organization. So you can, make them, you get some personal information about the company. Clickjacking, this is something which, in the design, it looks like, something like, it shows you yes, but at the back end, there is no. So you think you're clicking yes, but you're clicking no. It happens in the design part. So this yes is visible, but the actual action is not visible. So what happens? It's an attack that tricks a user into clicking a web page element, which is invisible or disguised as another element. So this can cause user to unwittingly download malware, visit malicious web page, provide credentials or sensitive information, transfer money, or purchase products online. So you need to zoom in to check it properly. Deepfake. So this is an audio or video clip that has been edited and manipulated to seem real or believable. It happens on the social media nowadays. You try to create some fake link, and then a lot of times nowadays you see that link, but at the after 10-20 days they say that no, it was not this, it was that, when you do the investigation, but the damage is already caused by the politicians and all that. APT is an advanced persistent threat. This is advanced, this is persistent. So someone is trying to get in touch with your system by using some kind of exploit. He's just trying to get in touch with your system. So he's trying to steal data, and you are not able to capture this guy because he's using advanced techniques. He's being persistent for maybe last 100 days or last 1 month, 6 months. He has set up connection with your system, and he's using backdoors and all that. He's using rootkits to prevent, if you try to run antivirus, you will not be able to catch him. He's also using some kind of cleaners to clean those actions, clearing the logs and all that. So it will be very difficult for you to capture that guy. So an advanced persistent threat is a broad term used to describe an attack campaign in which an intruder or a team of intruders establish an illicit long-term persistence or presence on a network or your system in order to mine highly sensitive data. Maybe someone is waiting for you to type your password or some banking details, and then they will just steal that. Cyberattack, we know that an attempt by hackers to damage or destroy a computer or network system is what we call cyberattack. So an attack on the cyber systems or cyber, that's why we have cybersecurity. Digital certificate. So this is nothing but what you do, you take a plain text, you calculate the hash, so you'll get some hash like HASH hash, and you apply your private key on this. You sign it with your private key, that becomes your digital sign. So I'll just show you what's the difference between digital sign and digital certificate. So this is your digital sign. Now, what is digital certificate? Digital certificate is like, you have you're trying to get in touch with a website. That website needs to send you a public key so that you can, take the text, you can take the plain text and apply this public key and PK, public key. Okay, you'll get some ciphertext. So this guy is going to get the ciphertext and apply its private key. I'll just remember, like the private key to get the plain text. So what happens here? Now this guy this website has to send a public key to you. Now it has to send public key to everybody else, whoever is trying to connect to this website. So because what happens, you try to take the plain text, apply its public key, then it can decrypt with its private key. So it has to share this public key with everyone. So what it's going to do, it will share this key in the form of digital certificate. So digital certificate is nothing, it is a public key. Okay, public key. And digital sign is nothing, it's a private key. So that's the difference. So it means by which to prove the identity or provide authentication, trusted third party certificate authority. So it's going to give you the certificate, which is being signed by some third party, which is a trusted certificate authority. So your browser will easily trust, because it's going to send you, after that, it's going to send you some public key. So encrypt the data, send it, and it's going to decrypt that. But the certificate you're going to trust because it's being signed by some certificate authority with its private key. And if you want to verify, you will ask it, okay, please give me a public key. I'll just verify that, which happens at the back end by the browsers and all, or maybe some protocol which is running at the back end. Online OSCP, online certificate status protocol, right? Digital forensics is gathering digital information to be used as an evidence in a legal procedure, gathering, preserving, analyzing evidence. So what do you do as an analyst, as a forensic analyst? You need to use some standards. You need to use a standard system. You need to use a standard lab. So here, in hacking, you can use any tool, or ethical hacking. So you can use any tools there. But here, you have to use some standard tool. Otherwise, it will not be accepted in court. So you can do a course like, CHFI, Computer Hack Forensic Investigator from EC Council, to know all the techniques, tricks to be used when you do forensic analysis or digital forensics. DLP is how you protect the data loss prevention, preventing data loss or data leakage. So data loss and leakage, there's a difference between loss and leakage. Loss means you lose everything, even the original copy. So if someone steals my pen drive, so data is gone, that is data loss. But data leakage is when the data is some data which is secure. I don't want others to see it, like my employee salary is confidential data. I don't want others to see that. So that is data leakage. So both, mostly you try to prevent data leakage in an organization. You don't want others to see the data which is sensitive. So that's why you have DLP, in the emails, or you have a separate solution to prevent any data loss. DMZ is a demilitarized zone. So this is where you can keep your website. So it is a zone which is not that secure, not that insecure. I can say it's a medium, medium layer security. So a segment or subnet of a private network where resources are hosted and accessed by a general public. So you can keep your website here, or FTP server, any server, like email server, not FTP server, because FTP you can keep in your private network, but your email server, your web server, where you want others to access that, you can keep them in DMZ, because it's not that secure. So it's a buffer. Internet is insecure. This is a medium layer security, and your private intranet is very secure. So this is a buffer, like not that secure, not that insecure, medium layer security. Authentication is if I create an email and password for you, you join my organization, and then you need to prove that. So you can just type your email password and system will say, okay, welcome, Sheikh. So you get authenticated, proving you say who you are, or you take an ID card, access card, you show it to a gate of your organization, is going to open that gate for you. So you're getting authenticated, proving an individual is claimed, his identity. Authorization, after that, after you get authenticated, what authenticated users are authorized to do within a computer system. So once you get authenticated, what rights you have? Are you an standard admin? Are you a billing admin? Are you access admin if you check in the cloud? So what kind of rights you have? What you can do? Can you go inside the HR room? Can you go inside maybe operations room? Can you go inside cafeteria? So what rights you have? So you can show your access card, and biometric system is going to authenticate you. Bug, it is an error or mistake in software coding or hardware design or construction, something which is a loophole. It's a weakness, because if there's a bug, so in the software we say there's a bug. So bug is an error or mistake which happen in coding or some hardware design or construction. So it creates a loophole where attackers can get inside. Ciphertext, so this is where we take the plain text, apply some encryption, we get a ciphertext. It's a random data which is produced by encryption. So no one can read it. It doesn't make any sense. You need a key to decrypt that. So this is what we call ciphertext. And there's also a difference between clear text and plain text. Clear text and plain text. So plain text can be converted to ciphertext, but clear text means something on which you will not apply encryption. So you will only apply encryption on plain text. You never encrypt clear text, right? So that's a little bit difference between clear text and plain text. Cryptography, this is the study of secure communication techniques that allow only the sender and intended recipient of message to view its content. So cryptography is only the sender and receiver should be able to see that message. It is derived from Greek word cryptos, which means hidden, something which you keep hidden. So you have a lot of ways to keep it hidden. You use steganography also, but in the steganography, what happens? You know, you have security come obscurity. But here, what do you have? Cryptography means that person. So when you do steganography, you still have it here. You hide some text in image, video, or it's still there. But in cryptography, you need a key, right? Data integrity, this deals with the modification. You know, you have CIA tried when it comes to cybersecurity, confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, authenticity, they are very important. So when you protect a system in cybersecurity, you ensure that you are going to maintain confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation, and authenticity. So data integrity deals with modification. Only authorized person can modify data. So you need to make it sure that unauthorized person will not be able to modify the data. So you calculate a hash, and you know, you send data to me. I'm going to calculate hash on my end and compare that with your hash. If it matches, there's no modification. A security benefit that verifies data is unmodified and therefore it's original. So it's complete, it's intact. No modification, no unauthorized modification. Eavesdropping, this is listening to some conversation. Like, you know, you two guys are talking about your organization. I'll just go and listen, but I'm not supposed to. Or you're talking to someone on phone, I'll tap that wire. So that's eavesdropping. Listening. On a transaction, you're doing communication, data transfer, or conversation. Even you pick up some packets using Wireshark is also eavesdropping. Or even you set up a listening device. If some people are talking in a meeting regarding some organization, there's a meeting, you set up a device, it's going to record, that's also eavesdropping. Hacker is a person who has a knowledge and skills in analyzing program code or a computer system, modifying its function or operating and alerting its ability and capability. So hacker, something who hacks into a system. Now you have an ethical hacker who uses it for a good purpose, but hacker can be bad or good depending on what hat he's wearing. Is he a black hat, bad guy? Is it a white hat, good guy? Or is he a gray hat, you know, which is between good and bad, like medium? And sometimes I go with bad, sometimes I go with good. So hacker, something, but most of the times, you know, hacker, earlier we used to treat him very good guy, not someone who is very genius and, you know, breaking into systems and all that. But nowadays, you know, after seeing the rules and all, so any person who is like, you know, a bad guy breaking into systems without any authorization. Hacktivism, it is derived from combining the word hack and activism. So this is hacktivism, hacking, breaking into computer system for a politically or socially motivated purpose. So the individual who performs an act of hacktivism is said to be hacktivist. So you do it, but with some political message. So you break into some website where you show some message. So that is where, you know, you combine hacking and activism. So that's where you just show some message related to some political party, like, you know, this site is being hacked by these guys and all that. Honeypot. So we set up a honeypot. So these are a type of deception technology that allows you to understand attacker behavior pattern. So we just simply set up a honeypot. So this is not a real, but this is some fake server, like, you know, my FTP server, it's a fake server. So attackers are going to attack this. So I'll just catch these attackers from where they are attacking, why they are attacking, how they are attacking. So my real FTP server, I can just stop it and I can just analyze. So I'll prevent the actual attack because I'm going to analyze, you know, how these hackers are doing these attacks and all that. So honeypots and all that, you have that. Honeypots are a type of deception technology that allows you to understand attacker behavior. Security teams can use honeypot to investigate cybersecurity breach, to collect intelligence on how cyber criminals operate, right? So you can use it for that purpose. Identity fraud, when you do any fraud related to identity, a form of identity theft in which a transaction, typically financial, is performed using the stolen identity of another individual, right? The fraud is due to the attackers impersonating someone else. You know, I pretend to be someone else. I'll just steal his ID card and I'll change his photograph. You know, I'll keep my photo and I can, you know, see people selling those in the dark web nowadays. IDS, this is intrusion detection system to prevent if there's any kind of intrusion. So a security tool that attempt to detect the presence of intruder or the occurrence of a security violation in order to notify admin. So it'll send me an alert that Sheikh, someone is trying to break in your system. Enable more detailed or focused logging or even trigger a response such as disconnecting a session or blocking IP address. But to be very frank, IDS does not do anything. So as per the definition, I've taken it mostly, you know, from Wikipedia, but to be very frank, IDS will not do anything by itself, but it will just send you an alert. So it will send you a message, it will send an alarm or an SMS or email. Then you see how you're going to, you know, what action you're going to take. So you're going to take action. If it is going to take action automatically, then it is IPS. Insider threat. So these are people whom we trust who work for our organization. The likelihood or potential threat an employee or another form of internal personnel may pose a risk to the stability or security of organization. Some stakeholders, some people who come, our partners or our employees whom we trust, they can also misuse that trust. That's why we have nowadays zero trust model. Most of organizations are using it. IPS, this is going to take action by itself, right? A security tool that attempts to detect the attempt to compromise the security of target and then prevent that attack. So it is just going to prevent that automatically. IDS will just send you an alert, but IPS will either block it, either drop it. So it's going to take action itself. You don't need to worry as an admin. Sometimes you can use both IDPS, right? You also have, is it network IDS? Is it a system IDS? Is it network IPS or system? Something which is going to protect the whole network, or do you want to keep it to protect one system? Keylogger, this is going to capture keys. Any means by which the keystrokes of a victim are recorded as they are typed in the physical keyboard. So nowadays, keylogger comes with a spyware. So what do you have? Keylogger and spyware coming together. So if you try to press some keys, that's where, it's going to capture that, send it to the attacker. So that's where, it's being said, always use your on-screen keyboard. Don't press your keys and all that, or you can use key interference software or anti-keylogger. So what happens? It's going to put some random characters between the keys. So if the report goes to attacker, he'll not be able to understand, but still he can make some sense. But that's where you have anti-keylogger. Packet sniffing. So this is where you sniff, where you monitor, where you analyze those packets, using Wireshark, using TCP dump. So collecting frames of packets of a data network. This activity allows the evaluation of the header content as well as the payload. So what is, in the packet, you have the header and the payload. So header has the information, source and source information, all that addressing, where from it's coming, where it's going. Payload has the actual content. So you can just analyze that. Patch management. So patch are those, when you try to, what to say, the stop, or when you try to fix those loopholes, that's where, this is what where we use patch management. The management activity related to researching or testing or approving and installing update and patch the computer system, which includes, firmware, operating system application. So you try to block those kind of loopholes or vulnerabilities by using patch. You have a patch management software. Earlier we used to have MBSA, Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer, very good patch management, or you have GFI LAN guard, which will automatically maintain the patching and all that. PKI is a public key infrastructure. So this is managing those certificates. It deals with digital certificates. When you need a certificate, you need to send a certificate signing request to your certificate. It goes to your, you have a validation authority, you have a registration authority, you have a certificate authority. So the overall process, how you get the certificate, how the certificates are kept, how they are, kind of, when the certificate expires, how they are handled and all that. So it governs the issuance of digital certificate to protect sensitive data, provide unique digital identities for users, devices, and application, and secure end-to-end communication. Risk management is dealing with risk, performing a risk assessment and checking the response to risk in order to mitigate or otherwise handle the identified risk. So risk is something which is bad, something bad is going to happen. So you need to check what are the risks, if it's going to rain, how is it going to affect my employees? If it's going to be a flood, how it's going to my employee, nowadays we have a pandemic, we have, we have this virus. So how it's going to affect the health of my employees and all that. So we need to calculate that, and how I need to deal with the risk. Do I need to transfer it? Do I need to mitigate it? Do I need to accept the risk? And there are a lot of ways to deal with the risk. Security control. So this is where you set up the control to mitigate, to reduce the effect of the risk. So anything used as a part of security response which addresses a threat in order to reduce the risk. Like, you have a firewall. If I try to get inside your system, so there are a lot of chances I can just break into a system. So you can use IDS, IPS, firewall. These are your security controls. Security perimeter, the boundary of an network or private environment where specific security policies and rules are enforced. So you have a perimeter, like a boundary, where you apply some policies, which is like you have perimeter devices, like, IDS, IPS. So you create a perimeter. This is your secure. Everything within that boundary is secure. Everything outside that boundary is insecure. So some kind of a boundary, imaginary boundary, which you have, logical boundary. SIEM is, where you have logs coming from all the devices. You send it to SIEM. So you're going to analyze those logs. It just makes some sense because you have logs coming from switch, routers, IDS, IPS, and all those devices, UTMs and all that. So security information and event management is the field within the field of computer security where software products and services combine security information management and security event management. They provide real-time analysis of security alerts generated by application and network hardware. So, you need to reduce those number of alerts. You need to remove duplicates. You need to, make some sense out of it. You need to create some, alerts if there's any kind of an attack and send it to some people. It is going to assign tickets. You have Curadar, IBM, a Curadar from IBM. You have Splunk, Alien Vault, Logarithm, and all those when you work as a SOC analyst. Spoofing is faking. I pretend to be someone, like, I can do IP spoofing, I can do MAC spoofing, I can also do port spoofing. I can do spoofing at 3 levels. The act of falsifying the identity of the source of communication. I pretend like, this guy did it. It is not me, it is this guy. You pretend to be, someone. You do something and then you blame someone. So this is spoofing. Either you do it at a MAC level, IP level, or you do it at a port level. Threat: any circumstance or event with the potential to harm an information system through unauthorized access, destruction, disclosure, modification of data. So that's what we say threat. When something is threat, so that means, like, a human, an attacker is a threat. Someone who is who's a black hat hacker, he might be a threat. Threats arise from human actions and natural. It could be natural also, like, it is going to rain heavily. It might be a threat. It might cause some flood, or it is going to be very hot. It might cause some other problem. So that's the threat. Virus is a type of malicious code or a program written to alter the way a computer operates. It is designed to separate from one code. So something which is bad, we have seen a bad software. Malware is a virus. So it's going to infect your file. When you click on the file, it's going to infect you. It's going to create, make your system slow. It might do a lot of things. It might delete, your file. It might just even remove the antivirus itself. So you need, there are a lot of viruses which we have. Macro, which affects Microsoft Words and all that. Vishing is a kind of a phishing, but over VoIP. VoIP means over voice, or those voice channels, like a form of phishing attack which takes place over VoIP. Like, you have seen a lot of attacks happening through VoIP. So this is what we call phishing. Phishing on VoIP. Someone calls you on the phone and does phishing is VoIP. Vulnerability is a weakness, loophole, or a weak point. Every system has a weakness. Any weakness in an asset or security protection which would allow for a threat to cause harm. So a threat actor can get inside the system and does an exploit, a security breach, using its vulnerability, which is a loophole. Zombie is something which is under your control. So it can be used to refer to the system that is host to the malware agent of the botnet or to the malware itself. So something which is, under your control is a zombie. Like, my system is under your control. You make my system to do a lot of things, like, it's a zombie. It's under your control. Advanced threat protection. So that's what we have nowadays. Earlier, we used to have signature based, where, we are going to detect based on signature. We have anomaly behavior based, but this is advanced threat protection. It's going to detect threats based on machine learning, based on artificial intelligence, that define against sophisticated malware or hacking attacks target. Like, Microsoft has that in the cloud, Azure. Attack vector. What is this? So this is, vector. When we say vector, it's a path, right? An attack vector is the collection of all vulnerable points by which an attacker can gain entry into the system. So the path through which an attacker can get inside the system, what path he is choosing to get inside the system, is an attack vector. Backdoor is an undocumented way of gaining access to a computer system. So something, when you have a front door, you have a back door. Front door is a legal way, but back door is something, where it is not documented. So you use some legal way to get inside a system using the back door. So you set up some back door, like, I try to send you an exploit and try to get control of your system. But when you restart your system, I lose that control. So I can just set up the back door every time you restart your system. So I get control using Metasploit. Brute force attack. This is a kind of a password attack. It is hacking method that use trial and error to crack password, logging credentials. So brute force, like, random, like, I know your name is Sheikh, so I can use SHE, and your date of birth, if I know it's 85, and I can use @ so I can just make different combinations out of this to try to break in your password using various combinations, like she at 85, she at 8, she at SH at 8. I make various combinations out of this. Cryptojacking. This happens, nowadays we have cryptocurrency. It's the art of hijacking a computer to mine cryptocurrencies, again, as the users will, through websites or while, users anywhere, hijacking a computer to mine. So I'll just hijack your computer to try to see if you have some cryptocurrencies. That's cryptojacking. Cyberbullying, that happens, the use of electronic communication to bully a person, typically, by sending a message of an intimidating or threatening nature. You try to bully someone using some cyber media. So that is what we call cyberbullying. Dark web, we know that, dark web, we use Tor browser to access dark web. So it is a subset of deep web. There are two things, you have a surface web, you have a deep web, and you have dark web. Okay, so surface web is, which we see with the Google. Deep web is we see with the Google, but these are like, some passwords, some research and all that, something which is very deep. A dark web, you cannot see that with the Google, you need a Tor browser. And these sites are not .com, but they have some random names. So it's a subset of deep websites. Almost 96% is your, only 4% is surface web. 96% is deep and dark web. That cannot be accessed using regular internet browser requiring encryption or special software. Cybercriminals share such sites with each other and claim limit or prevent unknown person reaching their site. So what happens, people remain anonymous. You can just browse it using VPN and using proxies and try to remain anonymous and see what kind of things are happening on the dark web. A lot of bad things, mafia and all that, drugs and all. Endpoint detection and response. This is for your endpoint. These are tools for protecting computer endpoints from potential threats. They perform compromised software and networking tools for detecting suspicious endpoint activities, usually through continuous monitoring. So something which is protecting your end systems. We have EDR solutions nowadays. Fileless malware, this is a new malware. When we say fileless, that means it does not infect your file, but it is somewhere in your memory. It gets, there in your memory. It's a type of malicious software that does not rely on virus-laden files to infect a host. It exploits applications that are commonly used for legitimate and justified activities to execute malicious code and reside in memory. So they don't, reside in files and all that, but they'll be always in memory. So you start your computer, they get activated, and they'll be always in your, volatile memory. IOC indicators of compromise. So this is an indicator which shows you something is happened or it is happening. It gives you some indication, because if I see a lot of traffic, I can say, there's a DDoS attack. So some indication. Object or activity that observed on a network or an advance indicates a high probability of unauthorized access to a system, that the system is compromised. So what happens, like, if I see some guy who's going to take picture in my server room, or, you're taking a picture of your airport, that's where you get suspected. Why you need it? You're not supposed to. So this is something, suspicious. IOC. We need to look for that. When you work as a threat, into threat analysis, or when you work into threat hunting, you go for this IOCs and all that, TTPs and all. Man the middle attack. So someone sitting in the middle is doing an attack. Like, you are a user. Let's say you are trying to connect an FTP site. So what I will do, I will sit in the middle. I'll just launch some software like Canada Bill, or I can use Wireshark, and I can capture this passwords. So I'm sitting in the middle and capturing all the sensitive information. A man the middle is a general term for when a perpetrator, that attacker, positions himself in a conversation between a user and application, either to eavesdrop or to impersonate one of the parties, making it appear as if a normal exchange of information. Either you modify it or you just listen to that. You have man the cloud, man the browser. So Scareware. So what it is, it's a malicious computer program designed to trick a user into buying and downloading unnecessary and potentially dangerous software, like, fake antivirus, something which is secure. So it's a Scareware. SOC, you have a SOC center where you load those big systems where you do continuous monitoring, you look for those threats and all that. So it's a security operations center. It's a centralized unit that deals with security issues on organization and at technical level. It comprises the 3 building blocks for managing and enhancing organization security: people, process, and technology. So what kind of people? You have a lot of those SOC analysts, and what process they'll be using and what technology, right? So it is what we call security operations center, SOC center. Sniffing is monitoring and capturing and monitoring. You use a Wireshark and you try to capture and monitor some packets or TCP dump in a context of network security, corresponds to theft or interception of data by capturing the network traffic using a packet sniffer. When data is transmitted across network, if the packets are not encrypted, the data in the network can be read using sniffer. Yes, that is very important. That's why we use encryption, end-to-end encryption. We have 3 forms of encryption: encryption for data at rest, data in use, and data in motion. So here we're talking about data in motion, or because that's where I can use a sniffer here to try to sniff some packet if it's being sent from source to destination. So we're talking about packet in motion. So we need to use SSL, TLS, or PGP, pretty good privacy, for emails, MIME, SMIME, and all that, or SSL, TLS, or set up a tunnel using IPsec. SOAR, this is what we call advanced SIEM, because what it does: security orchestration, automation, and response. collection of software solutions and tools that allow organizations to streamline security in three areas, key areas like you do threat and vulnerability management, you do incident response, and you do security operation automation. So here it's all about automation. Like these are next generation SIEMs. Nowadays, a lot of tools are available or services are available on the cloud. Zero-day exploit, this happens. This is an exploit which is not known to everyone, but some researchers, they are known about this, so they try to use it. So the term is used to describe exploit code that has been written to take advantage of a vulnerability before the vendor knows about it. Like, so when some researchers or some bug bounty guys, they try to search for these exploits, they report it to the organization like Microsoft, and then they release the patch. That's why they will ask you, please download the update for this. So that attack which happens before the patch is what we call zero-day. So there are two types of teams which we have, red team and blue team in any organization to do penetration testing exercise. Blue team guys, these are the insiders. These are the inside security guys, and red team guys are the external ethical hackers. So you call them and you ask them to do the attack on your organization. And blue team is a defender which has to defend or see those, or I can say they need to detect those attacks. In red team, blue team exercise, the red team is made up of offensive security experts who try to attack an organization cybersecurity defense. Blue team defense against and response to the red team attack. Right? Or you have a white team also, which acts as a referee. You have purple team, you have yellow team. A lot of teams are there, but these are the common teams. Cryptanalysis is where you break that algorithms or keys and all that. So process of analyzing information system in order to understand hidden aspect of the system. It is used to breach cryptography security system and gain access to the content of encrypted message, even if the key is unknown. So what do you do here? For example, I am here trying to send you a message. So I take the plain text, I will apply some key, and I will use some algorithm here. That is where we have some algorithms here, like, DES, AES and all that. So this is your algorithm. Okay, then what do? You will get a ciphertext. So what attacker does, so attacker is going to see if he can get your key, or he can try to break the algorithm, or he can get the ciphertext and try to break it, or he gets a key, he's trying to break it, or he gets an algo, he's trying to algorithm you cannot keep secure, it should be open to public. But cryptanalysis is just breaking, trying to break, not break, trying to break. Very difficult, but not impossible. In security, we say nothing is impossible. If you say in security something is impossible, it is very bad to say. Now you give a guarantee and all that, but to be very frank, in security you cannot say something it is impossible. Because recently I had a discussion with someone, he was from one reputed organization. He says, sir, we give 100% guarantee. I say, like, you give it, but to be very frank, there's nothing like 100% guarantee, because 100% guarantee is impossible. You never say it is impossible. You say it is difficult, but you never use a word impossible. So technically this guy was saying, it is impossible, which I never accept. In security, nothing is impossible. Anyone, if you create the algorithm, let's say, you have an AES, which is the strongest algorithm. What if you have quantum computing coming in? This will be breaking within seconds. So now it is hard, but tomorrow it might not be hard. So you never say impossible. Digital signature, this is what I was talking about. A type of electronic signature is a mathematical algorithm which is used to validate authenticity and integrity of a message. So for example, what I do, I just take some message, I apply my key, my private key on that message. This becomes my sign. So if you need to verify it, you can use my public key to verify that sign, right? So my sign is my something sign with my private key. So if you want to verify that it's a Sheikh sign, it is being signed by Sheikh. So you can use my public key to verify that. No one can have my key because this is like my password. And public key is like my email. I can share it with anyone, but I cannot share my password. If it gets compromised, I need to change it. Enterprise risk management, this is how organizations deal with the risk. In business includes the methods and process used by the organization to manage risk and seize opportunities related to achievement of that. So how an organization is going to deal with the risk is what we call enterprise risk management. What strategy they have. Data exploitation is like, stealing data. Someone is stealing sensitive information, like, data leakage is happening. Someone is trying to steal sensitive information and sending it out of your organization. Theft or unauthorized removal or movement of any data from a device. This typically involves a cyber criminal stealing data from personal or corporate device, such as computers and cell phones, through various cyber attack methods. Information assurance is where you give the assurance through CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability. You protect the information from attackers. Assuring information and managing risk relate the use, processing, storage, transmission of information. And so you try to Making sure whether information is in use, whether it is being transmitted or it is being stored. You're going to protect it by maintaining CIA. Information assurance includes protection of integrity, availability, authenticity, non-repudiation, and confidentiality. So authenticity is being genuine, something which is genuine. And then non-repudiation is there's no deny. So if you do a banking transaction, you cannot say later, I never did it. So they have a logging system to capture that. Confidentiality means that the data, objects, and resources are protected from unauthorized viewing. So something is confidential, only authorized user can access it. So what I do, I can share that key with him, or I create an email address and password, only he can access that system. Non-repetition, property of agreeing to adhere to the obligation. So more specifically, it is a inability to refute in responsibility. Like you cannot say, for example, you take a pen and sign a contract. So after that, you cannot say, no, I never did it. Like, you send an email to someone related, like, child abuse, you send a mail and later you deny that. No, your system has captured all the logs. So you cannot deny. There's no denying. We have a system. We have logs to prove that it was done by you. Adware is where, it shows you advertisement, any piece of software or application that displays advertisement. It is not bad, but sometimes attackers combine it with malware. So that is what we call malvertising. That happens most of the times. And it causes some malware, adware. Baiting is enticing a victim with an incentive, baiting you, giving you some bait. Like if you send this message to 5 people, you'll get 5 rupees, or maybe $5 credit in your account. That's baiting, which happens on social media and all that. Cyber warfare. So typically refers to cyber attack perpetrated by one nation against other. So when one organization or when one country is using it against other country to attack their ICT, that's what we call cyber warfare. When countries are involved and they are being recruited, people are being recruited to do that. Hacking, unauthorized intrusion into a computer system. So you get inside the system using some unauthorized means. You don't take permission. You break into the system by some unauthorized means. You try to steal the information. You try to break into the system. You try to sell that information. You try to make some money, or you want others to know that this guy is a hacker, and you just want your name and all those things. Malvertising. So this is what is advertising and malware and advertising. Correct. So online advertising to deliver malware. So malware plus advertising is malvertising. MFA is a multi-factor authentication. So if I have a password, my password is PA$W0RD. Okay, so I am trying to log into system. So how system knows that it is me, Sheikh? So you can also have my password as an attacker. So what do we do? They ask me, Sheikh, type your password. We will also send a code to your phone, type that code also, because an attacker cannot have your phone and password at the same time. So use multiple ways, something something you have, something you are, biometric and all that. Use your fingerprint, because it doesn't happen like, attacker is going to cut my finger. But sometimes they do spoofing, that's the other way around. But yeah, if it's about iris and all scan, it's a little difficult, not impossible. Providing a method to verify a user's identity by requiring them to provide more than one piece of information is multi-factor authentication. It's very secure, or you go passwordless. In the cloud, you have, MFA being used. Pretexting is the act of creating a fictional narrative or pretext to manipulate a victim into disclosing sensitive information. So you create it earlier, that's what's pretext. Scam, describe any fraudulent business or scheme that takes money or other goods from, you see some scam has happened. So someone is, it's used for a term where someone is trying to steal some money from you. Any fraud business or scheme that takes money or other goods from unsuspecting person, right? Smishing, so this is phishing or SMS. When you send it through the text. Now I use text because emails can be blocked using, those spam blocks and all that, but text cannot be blocked. So that's where people start using, texting, smishing. Spam is a slang commonly used to describe junk emails. So sometimes you get a lot of spams, a lot of irrelevant emails. Maybe you don't need that. It's just wasting your time and all that, or maybe resources, or causing some problem to the bandwidth when you get a lot of these spams, some mails which are not related to you. Cyber phishing is a targeted phishing where you target someone. Like phishing is sending this link to a lot of people. Cyber phishing is going to create a specialized message. So Sheikh, and he works for some company. Mr. Sheikh, you work for this company in this position. You are a trainer, cybersecurity trainer. So we are very delighted. So I create a personal message. So I'll see, oh, someone knows me, and yeah, this is a message for me. Let me open it. That's targeted phishing. Targeting a specific organization or individual seeking unauthorized access to sensitive information. Tailgating and piggybacking. So what happens in the tailgating and piggybacking? So tailgating is like, there's a gate in the organization, and some employees are trying to access it, and door will be open for some time. So I am an attacker here. I'm just following this person. So door will be open for some time. I'll just try to get inside. So using this person's access, because when he tried to open the door, he's just running very fast. I am following him. That is tailgating. Piggybacking is same technique, but you ask that person. You pretend to be, I'm not feeling well, or my hands are occupied. I'm carrying something. So can I use your access card? I forget my card. Can I use your card? So that is piggybacking. Tailgating involves someone who lacks the proper authentication, following an employee into the restricted area. Whaling is where you capture big fish. So you attack big guys here, big shots, business executives. You send phishing link to these guys because they have a lot of sensitive information. That's like a big fish, that's what we call whale. These are types of phishing, super phishing, whaling, spamming, and all that. So type of a hacker, white hat, these are good guys, because in the movies, when we see anyone wearing a white hat is a good guy. So these are ethical hackers. These are security analysts. They work for a good, they try to use the same techniques what hackers use to try to find a vulnerability, but they report it to the organization. So they're going to block it. Like those guys who are doing the big bounty and all that, they're getting rewarded for that. White hat hackers perform pen testing, test in place security systems, and do vulnerable assessment for companies. Black hat hackers are also getting paid, but some other ways, they try to make money by stealing it. These guys get awarded, or, black hat eyes, they get award for themselves using some illegal ways. Black hat, these are computer users with malicious intent. They seek to compromise the security of a person or organization for personal gain, like the bad guys. Boot sector malware, this is a malware which infects boot sector. So what you have in the boot sector, you have the image of the operating system. So that means whenever you load the operating system, it's going to load virus. Nowadays, you have a secure boot, so you don't have this problem. But earlier, if you're using that old boot, then it might be a problem which can happen. Can replicate the original boot sector so that at the following system boot up, the malware may become active. But nowadays, it doesn't happen because you have a secure boot. That secure boot is going to verify that operating system with that signature and all that. Dumpster diving is where you go and dump into the dustbin of the organization. So they don't dump it properly. They throw all the wreckage, the calendar and all that when they cut it. So there's some passwords and all that, or printer wreckage and all that. There's a lot of information you can collect. Is the legal method of obtaining password and corporate directories by searching through discarded media, something which you throw in the dustbin. Looking for trash, treasure, you're looking for treasure in trash. Hoax is something which is a false virus warning. You may receive such through the mail, instant message. Like, it happens at the air, inside the aeroplanes or somewhere. They will ask, okay, there's a bomb. So you need to, evacuate or this within 5 seconds. It's going to blast and all that. So you cause some delay and all that. Or maybe I'll ask you, your computer is going to get infected. So I'll make everyone to shut down the system, and might cause some delay or some other issues. Intrusion is the act of getting around a system security mechanism to gain on the floor. So intrusion, like you play around with the security system. So there's some security. When you intrude, you try to get inside. Like, there's a secure door. I try to break the lock by using some other key, or try to break it. So I try to get, or I just try to jump in, using the wall. So I use some ways to play around with the security, getting around a security to gain unauthorized access, intrusion. Logic bomb, this is where you set up in a system. Now you understand, like, you set up a logic bomb in 1,000 computers. They get activated on Valentine's Day. Now you can see the damage. So that's the logic, that's why they do the logic bomb. This is a piece of code that a miscreant can insert into a software to trigger a malicious function when a set of defined conditions are met. Payload, that's why we call it payload, is a malware that the threat actor intends to deliver to the victim. For example, if a cybercriminal sent out an email with a malicious macro as the attachment and the victim gets infected, so this is your payload. So this ransomware, right? So ransomware is the payload and not the email or document, but your ransomware, right? Malicious macro. So something which you use as a payload. When we talk about payload, something which you use to carry, like, when you want to carry something, you use a payload to carry that thing. Forming is also a kind of phishing, but this is where you play around with the DNS. So what happens, if I change the DNS instead of Google, I'll send him to some fake website. So I will change around with the setting. So every user is trying to go to Google, but he reached to the third-party website. So you get a lot of fish. You catch a lot of people. It is so it's like phishing in that it is a threat that trick users into divulging private information, revealing the sensitive information. But instead of relying on email as the attack vector, it uses a malicious code executed on the victim's device to redirect to the attacker's control website. So you play around with the DNS. Attack surface is the sum of every possible point where an attacker can enter your organization. All those weak points is your attack surface. You always need to reduce that. You can also think it up as a total number of all your cyber vulnerabilities. In cybersecurity, the goal is to make the attack surface as small as possible. So in cybersecurity, you try to reduce the attack surface, so attackers will have less vulnerabilities. Credential harvesting, this deals with the credentials. You harvest, you steal some credentials. Virtually attacking an organization to legally obtain employees login information. That's where, you say credential harvesting, stealing credentials. Like, you use social engineering toolkit. It is, where you can use it in Kali, or you try to steal those credentials and all that, or Parrot OS. Shadow IT. So what is the shadow IT? So shadow IT is where you try to bring in a new laptop, you take it to your organization without admin consent. So any ID system, software, or device being used in an organization without the authorization. So what's going to happen? Maybe you're not being controlled by the security system, so you can misuse that, right? So that's shadow IT. Right. So these are 100 cybersecurity terms. So as discussed, I was trying to come up. Let me just stop. Okay, I was trying to come up with some cybersecurity basic course, but I thought of coming up with these 100 cybersecurity terms. So there are a lot of other terms which you come across, but I think these are the most common cybersecurity terms which you come across. So if you want to make your career as a cybersecurity analyst or into cybersecurity, or you are trying to move from other team into cybersecurity, I have already recorded my videos on certifications which I did related to network security and cloud, and then I come up with a video on basic of networking where I received a lot of good comments and good feedback on that. It has got more than 1,000 views in just a few days. So now there was a suggestion that I need to come up with some basic fundamental cybersecurity terms. After that, I am going to come up with some fundamental course, but before that I thought of covering these fundamental terms. So I'm not going to make this video a lot bigger, but I think it's getting a little bigger. So I will see you in some other video. Please do like, subscribe, share, and comment on this video, and share with others also. I will see you in some other video while I'm going to record something related to cybersecurity fundamentals, and other will be on cloud fundamentals.